Hi, I'm Paul Ford.
And I'm Rich Ciotti.
And this is the Aboard Podcast, the podcast about how AI is changing software.
AI.
Oh my God, it's a lot, right? Okay, so we have so many things going on. Let's actually talk about them.
Dive in.
I made a deck. I'm wearing a light colored shirt, but a concealing sweater. You're wearing a dark colored shirt. We're getting a lot of feedback about how to orient ourselves. So we're trying here, folks. We're trying. I'm trying. I'm looking at you right now.
Yes.
Okay. And we're also going to try to introduce a little AV, but real early start today. Okay. I did this morning. We're going to try to visually up our game a little bit.
We sound like executives who can't figure out the Wi-Fi.
It's real. That is what we are. Okay. So what I want to talk about today the day,
yes,
is right now an enormous amount of news is coming out about new stuff in AI.
It's funny. I have a sort of parallel in my brain that the velocity of AI is sort of like the way it sort of spits out stuff is similar in the news about AI. It's like AI behaves like AI. AI news behaves like AI.
Well, and actually there was
very weird
syndicated book reviews that were AI generated in a lot of major papers, which was another sign of everything kind of falling apart. But what I thought we could do is a brief recap of some of the stuff that's going on. And then I want to talk about some themes, because I actually think that the narrative, you and I have been talking about this, the narrative of the AI companies is very different from what's actually happening.
Yes.
But
there are keynotes every 2 weeks.
Well,
it really feels like
so. Google I/O was a few days ago as we were recording this.
Google I/O predates AI.
Yeah.
It's Google's big event.
So they had an article. It was they launched 100 things. They're launching so much AI stuff. And not just AI, like web and Android. I mean, it's Google. They're huge.
Yeah, sure.
But what's interesting to me is they're really going after developers around AI. And there's I was watching one of the videos, and there's this real focus on a stack emerging inside of Google. And you've got your models, your LLMs, and then you get your AI frameworks on top. And this, if you're a software person, this is just classic. Stacks refer to layers of abstraction, right? And the very bottom layer of abstraction in the AI stack is going to be that model. And then you go up to the developer tools where I'm writing my code and I'm organizing things and I'm working with a team.
Classic stuff.
All the way out through deployment.
So wait, just real quick, I didn't watch Google I/O because I have a life.
Yeah, no, I do not.
You.
Yeah.
Was this the big reveal, or no? This was one of 20.
There is no one big reveal.
Sure.
There's a lot going on that's optically exciting. Their video generation is getting surreal and really good.
It's scary. I just watched a few of them, and it's scary.
VO3 is good, and it can talk, and so on.
So there's a few announcements.
So there's a lot of big announcements in optics, but what you're seeing is them essentially trying to get the Google back into this world.
Yeah.
Gemini is going to have these new features, and then you're going to write apps with it and deploy them on Android. They're trying to bring it and lock it into their ecosystem.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of conversations where people just had code on the screen, and they're talking about how the code is going to talk to the LLM and it's going to call functions, and the word agent shows up, but it's 100 things, dozens and dozens of them are AI, but it's all starting to live inside of that big Google ecosystem, right?
Sure.
Let's go over to Anthropic for a minute.
I'm a fan.
I like Anthropic. Actually, of all of them, I kind of find Anthropic with Claude kind of the most feels like software to me.
Also, lowest drama, maybe, generally. Just I don't hear a lot of dramatic Anthropic news.
No.
So
no, they actually,
thank you for that.
They actually seem to be managed like a company, which is exciting.
Yeah. All right, what is this?
So they're throwing out a whole lot of stuff. They're doing they've got Claude playing Pokemon.
That's cute.
It's cute. And what it means is it plays Pokemon and it learns what works and doesn't. And then it goes and it creates another prompt for itself to be okay, here's how I'm going to play a little better.
Right.
And what they're really emphasizing is they're going to just be, it's going to think a lot longer. It's not drastically smarter.
That seems to be a common theme.
But it can go away
a lot longer.
It can go away for a half hour or an hour and work on something. And then something might be code. And then at the end, it might deliver a pull request to GitHub. Hey, I fixed this for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to bring it in to your world? And
On its own?
yes.
So meaning you didn't say go fix a thing.
Well, you might have said go fix the thing, or you might actually have it in GitHub, and you might go like, that's one of their examples, like, hey, there's a problem with this merge, and the person responds, Claude, could you address this feedback? And then Claude goes in as the programmer and kind of fixes what the GitHub issue is. So fitting it into this world where like, hey, we wanted to deploy software, we ran the test didn't pass, and instead of me going, I should find out why the tests are passing or not, you say, Claude, can you do that?
Yeah.
And then it reports back. Good, not good? I don't know, because actually the more I think about this stuff, the more, I had a talk with one of our engineering leaders yesterday, literally about this stuff. And he's like, the thing I'm really worried about is how are we going to promise really good quality software to our buyers if we don't know the code? Like, everybody needs to be involved all the way through the process, because on Thursday night when the server goes down, you can't be like, Claude, fix it. Somebody needs to know what is in there.
I mean, that's a theme across a lot of what AI is helping you shortcut. We love convenience.
Yeah.
Even at work, we love convenience. But if things go south, and the boss or the client or the customer wants to know what's up, and you don't have a clue because you've never looked inside, you've never had to.
I mean, do you ever read about like food and medicine before the FDA?
Must have been bad.
It's just like sawdust and morphine, and you're like, wow, I just wanted white bread.
You know what used to throw me off is that like the tonic, first off, you got sodas at the pharmacy.
Yes.
And the tonic kind of was delicious and refreshing, but it had cocaine in it.
Yes.
And it was also medicine,
yes.
But it also was thirst quenching.
Because this was an awesome country. It was so good, man.
We can't do this anymore, man.
You can go to the weed store, but they're closing all those down.
No, well, they shouldn't be selling out of the back. That's a different thing. That's New York City.
Or the front or the side.
Yeah.
Okay,
Keep going.
So Claude, and the other thing too, like agents.
Agents is, I get it. I think it oversimplified, but I think the reason agents have taken is because it's a great marketing tool. It's a great way to communicate what's going on.
We'll come back to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on to that for 1 minute.
So OpenAI.
OpenAI, interesting. Now, MCP is a way for people to talk to. It's an API protocol for like talking to systems and getting results from an LLM. You send it a prompt and you get data back. And so it's just that plus a lot of LLM gravy and niceties. Anthropic proposed this standard. It's taken a while, but now OpenAI is like, hey, we're on board. We're going to do this with you.
Okay, so this is important because it's the first cross-platform, platform-agnostic standard that if people adhere to it, I may have Anthropic tools doing some specific task and then talking to OpenAI tools over here to finish the job, for example.
So that's really good. Like, that means something. We'll talk about that in 1 sec. It does stand for Model Context Protocol.
Yeah.
So that's helpful. That'll get everybody aligned on. But here, like, what can you do with it? You can say, like, let's say you've got a store on Shopify and you've got a large language model that understands stores on Shopify. You can say, show me all the pink shirts with funny slogans.
Yeah.
Right. And like that. And if, Shopify's MCP server is supporting that kind of input and that kind of query, you can start to do AI things with websites and with databases and platforms without having full access to all their data or so on and so forth.
You can make a call.
That's right. So if I have a big Shopify store with 900 different components, I could be like, which one of these are compatible with Sony stereos?
And it'll go out and check some
it does its thing.
Tool.
It does its thing. So it's a way for like AI to do its thing in the context of the web. And so, HubSpot is supporting MCP. So you can be like, tell me all the leads that are in New Mexico.
It's a way to open that knowledge capability, that AI capability to the rest of the world.
And kind of, glue all those worlds together. And so our friend Neil Dash wrote a big piece. We'll put a link in, but this is Web 2.0 2.0, which the idea is like, hey, we're kind of getting back to the place where instead of everybody running off in their own direction, they're starting to talk to each other again. and there's things to do. Knitting things together is always good for an open commons and ecosystem. It means that you get open stuff and closed stuff, and everybody's kind of talking and working together.
I'm going to share a less suspicious view of MCP.
Sure.
I think the way I look at it is AI showed up and started talking to people first.
Yes.
It became a human interface tool. The chat box and a robot responding back very thoughtfully blew everyone's minds. We're still kind of processing it. And it's giving me pictures, and it's writing me essays, and it's breaking education. We've talked about all this. And what MCP is proposing is that now machines can talk to machines, right? Ultimately, it's usually sparked by a human for some goal or purpose. For now. But if it has to go out and fan out and have HubSpot talk to Claude AI via this protocol, that's something it can do. I think when you look back on what Web 2.0 promised and where we ended up, we still ended up with like 5 companies. So that's a bigger thing. And I think what's happened with AI is that the borders around the different countries were drawn like in the first 10 minutes. Like I've never seen, I've been in tech for a long time, and I've never seen 4 mega companies sprout out of the soil in like a minute.
It was like a James Cameron movie. Like
it was,
just sort of
it's just unreal. And I've seen in the past companies, hat in hand agree to standards.
Oh yeah.
It's like, we're on board. Of course we're on board. But then what you see is the classic mechanisms around creating moats and such and such. So
I'm drinking a lot less these days, but if you ever want to get a couple drinks into me, we can talk about the Open Office XML versus Microsoft proprietary XML.
I think it's the only way to get you to talk about it.
It's a very deep and buried set of emotions.
All right.
So the other big OpenAI news. Remember, a lot of people are listening to this. They can't see the slides. You got Jony Ive wearing his Jony Ive glasses, kind of got his arm around Sam Altman's shoulder, and he's just whispering the word aluminium into his ear. Just aluminium.
I can't process if that's a real photo. Everything is uncanny at this point.
OpenAI bought Jony Ive and his company I.O. It's confusing.
Jony Ive had been working on...
Big ticket, though. $6.5 billion. Billion with a B.
Of AI money.
Who knows? Who knows at this point what's real?
We can't even tell if the photo's real. Let alone how they paid for the thing.
Don't forget, also, Altman's got that WorldCoin thing. It's the orb that scans your eyes so that you can get the Bitcoin, right? So that's what we're up against.
He's moved on from that.
They're still running around with that orb.
All right, fine. Yeah. Run around with the orb. So I've had been working on sort of new interfaces. A big premise for him, by the way, and I just happened to have been reading up on what his goal is to get people to benefit from all this technology without staring at screens. That's like a big goal of his. I don't know if you knew that.
Altman or Ive?
Ive.
Yeah, because you got to show the old boss what's up.
You got to show the old boss what's up, even though the old boss is not really around anymore, but...
Yeah. Well, the old new boss.
Old new boss, yes. So, and...
They're going to regret letting him go with their stupid phones.
There's a 9-minute video on the internet of these two just sharing an ice cream sundae, and it is just unwatchable. The whole thing is unwatchable. God bless.
I want to bring business back. You know what we were opening a new office, right?
Yes, we are.
And we had a big conversation about what to name the conference rooms.
Yeah.
And where did we land?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep. That's it. I want to get back to that, man. Yeah. Just like
trees were in the running. Birch.
I made a spreadsheet. I had HTML elements because I was supposed to be the creative one here, right?
Yeah.
And it just kind of came down
ended up to 1. I'll see you in 3.
Because we're a business and it's just easier to like stop. So anyway, but they're sharing.
Anyway, I'm curious to see what they come up with. I'm sure it'll be fascinating.
I can't wait. They're buying the keynote. They're buying the aluminium.
He's a thoughtful, out of the box thinker who views technology as submissive to him, which is actually incredibly effective. And credit to Steve Jobs for pretty much making him his peer for years. And it created immense value. I don't blame them. $6.5 billion of eyeball Bitcoin money. God bless.
Who knows? Who knows what money even is anymore? All right. So that was our news roundup. And I see three themes emerging.
Okay.
Let's run through all three and then go back. So one is interoperability is starting. We're
Great.
Big companies are making it so that these pieces of software can talk to each other. The youth might not remember, like you couldn't share a word processing document for 30 years.
To print it.
Yeah, like it just like, Word and WordPerfect couldn't open each other's stuff. Like interoperability is actually a big deal. And the fact that these things can talk is how you build a tech industry. The other thing is that agents are showing up. And I think agents represent like kind of a first pass at what are the methods we're going to be using to talk to these systems. And there was this is something I wanted to come back to, which is there was Simon Willison. This is from his weblog. I'm going to read it to you. He went to the Anthropic developer days. He was getting frustrated at the fact that every talk at the Anthropic developer conference has used the word agents dozens of times, but nobody ever stopped to provide a useful definition. So I'm now in the Prompting for Agents workshop, and Anthropic's Hannah Moran finally broke the trend by saying that at Anthropic, quote, agents are models using tools in a loop.
What a ridiculous definition.
I think that's good, though. It's a model, and you use some code on top of it, and you're doing it over and over again. You're not just prompting
That's a
it.
better definition.
No, it's the same. I just said the same thing.
I'm going to give you credit for this.
No, give her credit. The agents are model using tools in a loop. So it's like, I'm going to run this code, and I'm going to kind of keep running it, and I'm going to wait until I get the result I want, and then maybe I'll run some other code.
Yeah.
And that's all it is, because we're going to keep saying that agents are like little people out in this industry.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
And then I think the third thing, so we got interoperability, we have agents as a model, and then I think developer experience is starting to become really important. We didn't talk much about it, but Claude is getting way more focused on code. They updated their code client in the terminal. They're starting to work with third-party code tools like VS Code in a more mature way. And Google was all about developer experience,
Yes.
right? Here's what I see. I see huge, massive progress, big announcements, Jony Ive and so on, but it is starting to get folded into the classic structures of our giant tech industry. I need developers to build with this. I can't keep all the value myself as the AI company. I have to distribute it out to developers who will go build the next generation of products.
And it's interesting. I mean, that's a lot of people view that as a corner of all this, not the thing.
I think they're starting to say, whoa, I guess we're going to need that.
Interesting.
I don't think Gemini will be enough. I think they're really focusing on like, you're going to build apps up.
Is that 10% of this revolution?
No, I doubt it. I think it's
is
more,
AI going to revolutionize like how restaurants are run and then how factories are run?
here's what, well, it depends. There's a lot of different ways. I'll argue pro. Let's go factories. I'll argue pro and con. No, we'll start with con. No, not really. There's going to be some AI toolkits. Code that operates robots is going to get a little faster, and you're going to be able to automate a lot of things around the factory. And you could do kind of like an AI walkthrough.
Still need developers, is what you're saying.
You still need developers to build that stuff, and you're going to need to train people. And you can't really get that last mile, the humans out of the loop. You still need the humans, but you might find a lot of efficiencies.
Yeah.
Phase two here, the pro would be, we've got all these automated systems for, manufacturing and doing things in the factory. Those are controlled by code, and we're going to continually, iteratively improve how the code gets created to operate the robots to make them more efficient, including having an AI system monitor how everything is going, automatically suggest improvements. And we're going to have this incredibly accelerated continuous improvement model that sometimes will be automated. You won't need consultants. They'll just make everything better in the factory. And we're going to start working towards that because we think in a couple of years, it's just going to be
that also requires expertise.
You can't get humans out. You can't. Like this fantasy that you could somehow like throw away all the developers, everything. Like, I don't think it's real. I think
5 years?
Who cares? Like the last mile is going to remain long. No, because in 5 years, you're going to have a whole class of new problems that we never thought of before that you still need humans for. Because humans just fill the void. If you show us a vacuum, you're like, oh my God, I can write Photoshop in 5 minutes with this thing. Everybody's going to go, great, but I need Photoshop that also sings and dances.
3D, yeah,
exactly. And
totally.
be like, well, I got it to do that too. Well, but then who are you in the middle?
Endless appetite.
We're never done. We're never. What do you think they're going to be like? Oh my God, that's enough polar bears in my. They're going to want 50,000 polar bears in the Coca-Cola commercial.
I think this is helpful guidance and advice. I think you're right. I don't know if developer is the right word. I don't know. It's. I think a new set of skills are going to materialize off of this stuff. Developers are they're gonna appropriate it early because they're closer to it. They understand it and whatnot.
We are in a class here, I think, where like we're kind of experiencing this too. And the term that always gets bandied about in consulting and so on becomes solutions, right? Like I deliver solutions. A lot of times that's consultants, sometimes that's coders, sometimes. But I think there is this sense of like, I have a problem. Can you decompose it into something that a prompt could make us a little bit further along to solving the problem? And then let's see where we hit walls, and then we might have to do some, like, you're delivering a solution or AI assisted solution. So I think like
I like that because I think that's something that demystifies it a little bit.
I mean, your job is
solve problems for you.
Because your job title can't be like, I figure it out. So like, but that is what it is. My job is to know how these tools all work together so I can go figure it out.
Do you think people who become experts in AI in 5 years will have to code?
I don't know if that really matters. Like they're going to have to think algorithmically, but they might have here's what's really nice about this technology. If we take all the drama away, it's really helpful about syntax, and syntax is hard.
Yeah.
Like when I go, I'll tell you, there are scripts that I write after 20 some years in Unix, and there's certain little corners of syntax I just can't remember. I always got to go look them up.
Totally.
And that's never going to be a problem for me again in my life. And you don't take that away from me. That is the best thing ever, because that is meaningless knowledge. It is like where the semicolon goes.
Totally.
There's no value to society. It's just, it's what a computer needs. So I do think that, so yeah, sure. People should still know how the things work.
Yeah.
Like you should. If you choose not to, then you can't complain when it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But let me ask you, I mean, here's the same question. You think in 5 years from now, there's a problem with your toilet. Often there is. You calling a plumber or you calling a robot?
Calling a plumber.
I think that's real, right? Maybe 20 years from now, robo-plumber comes?
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, but self-repairing toilets, Paul.
Yeah, that's...
Self-healing toilets. Let's end it on that.
I just want you to imagine the liability insurance issue that is created by that idea.
Or good times.
Yeah, there are like 25 class action toilet related law firms in the future is what we've got. I skipped ahead. So everybody should have a great week. If you want to get in touch, hello@aboard.com. Go check out our website. There are some new and exciting things on it. We're going to talk about them more, but we're soft launching.
So soft. Have a wonderful week.
Gentle velvet launch. Goodbye, everybody.